Avade in Avade is der Eibischte du. Verbringen mit der Gevre, verbringen mit der Rebbe. Avade in Avade is der Eibischte du. Avade. Yisro elevei oi reiso, bekitsho berichi chadi. Yisro elevei oi reiso, bekitsho berichi. Yisro elevei oi reiso, bekitsho berichi chadi. Yisro elevei oi reiso, bekitsho berichi. Fabrik, fabrik, oi jedelig fabrik. 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 Fabringen met de gevre, fabringen met de rebbe. Avade in Avade is de aaie besterde. Fabringen met de gevre, fabringen met de rebbe. Avade in Avade is de aaie besterde. Is er no way oi reiso, de kitje berichi chadi. Is er no way oi reiso, de kitje berichi. Is er no way oi reiso, de kitje berichi chadi. Is er no way oi reiso, de kitje berichi. Fabrik, fabrik, oi jedelig fabrik. Fabrik, fabrik, met de gevre fabrik. Fabrik, fabrik, oi jedelig fabrik. Fabrik, fabrik, met de rebbe fabrik. Vadde in Avade in Avade in Avade fabrik. Vadde in Avade in Avade in Avade fabrik. In Avade in Avade in Avade in Avade in Avade fabrik. In Avade in Avade in Avade in Avade in Avade fabrik. Fabrik. Ai 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 ai. Fabrik, fabrik, laat me naar de fabringen, fabringen wil, fabringen. Laat me naar de fabringen, fabrik, fabrik, oh jedelig fabrik, 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 met de gevre fabrik, oh jedelig fabrik, 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 met de rebbe fabrik.
So welcome everybody to, I was asked literally just about an hour ago to say something by Rabbi Pasternak. So I was thinking about what to say, and I think I'll say what I think is the most important thing in the world. And basically, the story is that all of the Rebbe's teachings, right? We have to understand, imagine for a moment, I am God. I remember when I was a rabbi in Plattsburgh Bay, this little town, this very sweet little girl. She goes over to me after the whatever. They lived like in this little village. She comes over to me after the prayer service. She goes, "Are you God?" I was like, "I don't think so." They say, "How do you know that Yashka? How do you know that Yashka was a Jew? His mom thought he was God." So, in any event, the point of the matter is that, but just for imagination's sake, because I think this is a very important way of looking at the world, because we're always looking at the world from bottom up, from our perspective. We're like looking scientifically, we're looking at what is reality. And now we have to reverse the process and look at it from actually reality down. How does God see this picture? So, if you could just imagine that for a second. So now, okay, there's nothing here, just me. I'm the only thing that exists. And so there's nothing that's compelling me to do anything, right? I have no needs. There's nothing that I need. Or if you can imagine, actually, God gives us our parents as role models or examples so we can understand this idea. Because to the child, the father is like God. That's how you imagine your father. Which, by the way, means that we have a big responsibility, because our children are going to think about God as they think about us. If we're harsh, if we're kind, if we're unconditional, that's how they're going to see God. So that's why as a parent, it's a really big responsibility. But be that as it may, so the parent in a way doesn't have a need for the child, right? It's not like I'm a farmer and I need help. No, thank God I'm in the modern society. I'm, a computer programmer. I don't need a kid to like program for me. I can get my own money through my own programming. I'm good. So the only thing that I want in this child is basically, it's just love, right? I love the child. Hashem, the past, present, future are the same. So we know that it says that he conversed with the souls, which in a certain sense is almost like with himself, like, should I make you? And we were like, yeah, great idea. Let's do this thing. And so Hashem brings us into existence, and our existence effectively is, what does Chassidus say? It's we exist in the perception of our own perception, right? That's basically reality. We exist in the perception of our own perception, because the truth of all of reality is that Eino Imovade, there's only the Eibishter, there's nothing but the Eibishter. But that perception, as if I can quote the Holy Ramaz, that perception, he says, the world may not be real, but it's real enough, right? It works, it functions. This guy, a very smart guy, he once told me about a computer. He says, like, if you think about your recycle bin on your computer, it's not really real. It's a recycle bin. But what do? You throw away the trash. Well, your trash can in your kitchen also may not really be real, but it works. Throw away the trash. So this world works. And basically, just a very profound thought that I had this morning. Somebody once asked me, what do you do? I said, I think. So that's kind of my role in this world. And so I realized something really interesting, because many times, certainly spiritually, we're trying to go up. In a way, we're trying to get out of this world, right? Certainly the whole Buddhist thing, I'm not talking bad about anyone, I don't know enough about it, but the concept is nirvana. Basically, if you're lucky, you never come back, right? Right? So there's that part of us that just wants to get out of here. But really, if you think about that, Hashem is so great that this world can be great. The whole idea that we need to get out of here is that this place sucks. But what if that's a mistake? What if this place can be awesome? And the Rebbe says that Hashem wants that everybody should be happy in life. And it's very interesting, because if, like, before the Rebbe, you kind of get the sense by many, I don't know if you want to call it the Orthodox world, of this kind of like there's good and evil, and it's like if it's a little bit difficult, it's more towards the good side. But the Rebbe is like flipping this whole thing around. He says, no, this world is meant to be good physically, meant to have cupcakes all the time, healthy, organic cupcakes, and you're meant to spiritually, and you're meant to be well. Everything's meant to be good, just like spiritually, physically. And Moshiach is going to be that, like lots of organic cupcakes that really taste good. And you're going to like totally have like Chassidus and a wife, and everybody says there will be nobody that was not with a city like 400,000 children. And you're like You're going to be like grandpa to like all these kids. It's going to be great. It's going to be so much fun. So the point is that where is that going to happen? Right over here. Why? Because if you have to leave this world to get to happiness, that means that God isn't truly great. Because if God is truly great, he can make us happy in this world, in the details. And so really, on a certain sense, we're living in the best time to be happy in the world. Because technically, I know some of you are struggling with difficult issues, and when we're struggling, it's hard. So we're not putting down in any way. I saw this thing that psychologists say that like happiness is like 60% us, but 40% also circumstances. You can't be happy if you don't have a bed to sleep in, right? Let's be honest. There are certain things that you need in this world to be happy. It's not all in the head. But relatively speaking, the fact that a lot of people can have their basic needs met, hopefully you can get married, hopefully you'll have a family, hopefully you'll have your, stable income, whatever these factors that are very important for happiness. We need these factors. And of course, getting back to the original picture, okay, so let's say you have these factors, because for thousands of years, all people wanted, I lived in Africa for many years, all people want is basically money. Why? Because they want basically safety and security, and they associate the two. So for thousands of years, we did so much just to get to the basic stable thing, and now people are like, oh wow, we had to climb this mountain, it took us thousands of years to get on top of the mountain, then we're like, this is boring, what are we doing here? Let's find some problems. So now the trick is to go back into the mind of God and say, okay, what were you thinking? God, why did you make me? There's a rabbi in town, he told me, he's a very holy Yid. He told me that like for many years, until he was like 14, 15, he was like upset. He was like, why did I come into this world? Like, I don't know, he felt that his soul chose to come into this world. Like, why did I do this? Like, this was a stupid thing to do, right? So there has to be a very, very good reason why we're here. And so really, ultimately, it is the manifestation of basically, it allows a relationship to occur. It allows Hashem, because we see ourselves separate to Hashem, it allows us to have that relationship, because you can't have unity unless you have division, right? Division and unity go together. So the fact that separates us is also the fact that unites us. I heard this from Yossi Jacobson. He said that, it says Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, the most important Jewish prayer. So God is the ultimate bachelor. He's like, he's got it all. But what's better than being the best bachelor in the world? Having an imperfect relationship. Trust me, I say I'm an expert in relationships. I've had two. And there's no such thing as a perfect relationship. Anybody that thinks, and this is part of our problem in the West. Somebody told me, he was a very sweet guy, very, very bright guy. He was living here, moved to Jerusalem. I said, how are things going? He says, well, as long as I get out of my head the Western idea that things have to be comfortable, I'll be okay. Because in other words, we're brought up in the West often, like people from Russia, they don't expect things to be just comfortable. They expect to have to work hard, and then I'll make it happen. Now, that's actually, I love the Jews from Russia, because a lot of them, they're just like very stable, solid people. Their expectations of reality aren't, am I right? They don't have like crazy expectations. Even look at our friend Noam, like normal expectations of reality, right? I got to do my part. I'll do my part. It'll be good. Other people have to behave. I have to behave. There's like this concept of reality going on. But a lot of us don't have that concept of reality. It's like, why did the government give me another $1,000 bonus for existing? That's not fair. So the point is, we don't have necessarily this very healthy concept of reality. So the true concept of reality is, and this is really the truth of all truths, it's all about relationships. It's about your relationship to yourself. You have to treat yourself with respect and with kindness and with love. And something that I kind of came up with, I don't know, I think this was yesterday, it was very impactful to me, is that many of us walk around with certain elements of hurt. Somebody somewhere in our lives shamed us. And we are carrying some of that shame with us. And we're not feeling totally okay. And really what shame is, and that's really what anti-Semitism is all about, it's about shaming, if you think about it. Shaming is kind of an outsider trying to make you depressed. Because what is depression? Depression is when a person, this is very fascinating. When you think about depression for a moment, let's say a person has suicidal thoughts. So what is going on? Why are you thinking suicidal thoughts, right? So there's a part of you that, God forbid, wants to kill a part of you. So that's pretty stupid. Like, what's going on? Like, why would one part of me want to kill the other part of me? But think about this. Let's say my right hand is feeling a lot of pain. And my left hand says, hey, you're bothering me. So there's a part of you that is angry at a part of you. So who's angry at who? Now, this is my theory. It's not Chassidus per se, but I think what I'm saying is true. So we all have a mind, if you want to call it a consciousness, which is the observer of the reality. Sometimes we don't realize it because it's all bundled up together, right? So when I'm thirsty, I don't think, oh, well, the body is thirsty. I think I am thirsty. So, but really what's happening here is there's a you, the soul, that is feeling the body's thirst. The pain of the body is becoming the pain of the soul. And so therefore a person can become upset at themselves because my body is being a pain in the tush, right? If somebody was like knocking at your door 24/7, you'd eventually take a hammer and try to do something, right? Because they're bothering you, right? So first of all, maybe this could be helpful to us, is to realize actually this is not me bothering me. This is something else, maybe a clipper bothering me. Something else is bothering me. Because when it's me bothering me, my body, then I go against the body, right? And unfortunately, this is a very deep concept. So there's depression, that's depression. But what is repression? Repression, listen carefully to this idea, is when somebody convinces you that you are a problem. So for example, you have parents. Now none of our parents are perfect. We'd like them to be, but they're not. And your parents say to you, you're a pain in the tush. So what happens? What happens is that you are now upset at yourself for upsetting them. Because if somebody walks by, you're going down the street, somebody says, you're a pain in the tush. You're like, actually, you're a pain in the tush. I'm not a pain, you're the pain. But if it's somebody that you need in your life and you're dependent on and you trust, and they say you're a pain in the tush, so now, just like before, you could be depressed, upset at your body for actually being a pain. Now you could be upset at yourself for being the source of your pain. You get it?
Somebody else's pain.
Yeah. In other words, it's not in your interest, or I'll give you an example. You come to class late. This would never happen, Rabbi Capel just happens to explode. And then you might be like, oh, I can't believe I came late, right? So you're upset at yourself for this episode that you caused. Here, it's not the pain that you caused yourself, but somebody else is upset, and you are upset that you made that person upset, which ultimately goes back to you because they're upset at you. So you're trying to protect yourself, but still, many times the source of the problem was false. Right, if a Jew, and this is the problem, let's say, with secular Jews that take anti-Semitism as being real, like if an anti-Semite says something to me, like, I don't care, it's like actually what I do is I'm usually nice. I remember Kansas City, unfortunately, since he who mustn't be named became president, anti-Semitism started to rise. There wasn't anti-Semitism in America before. And then, I was in Kansas City, and these, two McGaggies, said something anti-Semitic in their car. And so I look at them and I smile. And I actually hear one of them say to the other, he's smiling. It's because they don't want that. They want you to be upset. They want to get under your skin. That's why, you just got to reverse the process. So the point is that if you don't allow that thing to bother you, then it just didn't bother you. You didn't take it serious. So it's very important to realize all the people that ever offended you, you know why they did it? Because they were offended and they were jealous that you weren't. Their self-esteem was hurt and they were jealous that your self-esteem wasn't. That's all it is. It's got to have everything in this world has a psychological factor. And that's all it is. And once you understand that, it takes that pain away because you didn't hurt them. They were hurt by somebody else, and they were jealous that you weren't hurt, and that's why they were hurting. right? And it's just the way it goes. That's why in Judaism we speak about being critical, which we call din, as being a very negative concept, because we shouldn't be critical, including to ourselves. Now, you got to shape yourself up once in a while, but the idea of criticism is always klippa. Because where's criticism coming from? It's either kind of negativity, God forbid, towards yourself, or negativity towards others, but that's criticism. And if somebody does it towards you, it was also unjustified. It's just unjustified. Now, I'm not going to go into some of the psychology of why we sometimes Hashem creates criticism. I mean, he made it in the world, so maybe it's an opportunity, whatever, but that's not the main point that I want to bring out. Today, I want to bring out that point that whenever you were criticized in your past, I'm sorry that that happened, you didn't deserve it. And you shouldn't take it personal, okay? So now let's get back to the choice of God. So once we understand this, we understand that God is only good. He's only love. So what does he want? So that he wants relationships. He wants to be part of your life. He wants you to be part of my life. He wants you to be part of, I don't know, your wife's life, your kids. We exist in relationships. There's the Jewish people. Then there's the family connection. Then there's the community connection. Right? There's the Jewish people to the non-Jewish people. There's us and nature. Right now we don't really hear nature, but when Moshiach comes, nature will talk. Right? I had a dream once that Moshiach was here and people were walking in a zoo. Did I expire my time? No, we're okay. So people were walking in a zoo, and actually, like I saw these conversations between people and the animals. Animals were just so happy to converse with people. We like conversations. We like having relationships. By the way, that's a big secret of marriage. You know what women want? Women want to talk. The secret of marriage, I put this out. I have a little men's marriage group. Hi, how are you? Good to see you. Welcome. I said that more than your wife wants to hear your wisdom, she wants you to hear her wisdom. Right? People want to be heard. And that's a relationship. And most men, we like to say, hey, I got a great idea, honey. It's like, actually, I just want to express my ideas. Oh, really? Is that, okay, let's do it. No, I just wanted to tell you my ideas. I just want you to hear me. That's what relationships are. It's people conversing with each other, right? So sometimes we have to set aside our ego, because there's a little bit of an ego high in our marriage, and say, okay, I'm actually just here to hear, right? That's why I'm here. And remember, somebody once told me in my former job as a rabbi somewhere, she said, good line, she said, you're here to hear. You're here to listen to people, right? So often we're like, oh yeah, I got to do this. I got to do this. Actually, let's say, certainly if a person's a therapist, what are you here to do? You're not here to give so much advice. You're here 90% just to listen, and 10% maybe to give some advice, right? And so we're living in a society that's so fast-paced that we need to learn how to hear again. We need to learn how to hear ourselves. And something that really helped me recently is I kind of just slowed down in davening. I've started practicing. Hopefully I'll continue this, is just pointing with my pinky slowly. And it's not even like I get so into the davening, but I just like slow down. My brain, everything slows down. And I begin to have, like, davening has become to me a very important time just to be able to reflect in my own life. Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? What do I have to do? This, because we're so wired that we're not like actually like reflecting in terms of who am I? What am I meant to be doing? It's that we need some time just to like center our own mind and our own connection to our own, to get our own story, just to get connected to our own story. So, any questions? Okay, so let's conclude. Maybe I'll do a little meditation.
You said about when you get in like negative judgment or from outside.
Yeah.
So you should let it get to you. Like it's not. It's got no connection to you. It's like their own thing with their own reality or something. You said something like that.
Yeah.
But what if you do agree with them? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. If it's actually true.
If it's actually true.
Yeah.
So you're probably talking about something called a wife. And so there, there is something very, right, could be Yeah. So look, there is something very important, particularly with a wife, in terms of it can highlight aspects of reality that you may not be aware of, and Hashem might want you to work on. And so there is that element which, but ultimately it shouldn't take you down, right? Judaism, we're a proactive. If I took anything from Chassidus, it's the road is always ahead of you, right? There are many different theories, which all like about the past, and Shuvah is about the past. Shuvah is not about the past. Shuvah is about the future, how to improve ourselves. We're always in a state of improvement. And Hashem is never coming to say you're bad, right? Like if Hashem made us out of pure love, and He's sustaining us out of pure love, He can't hate us. He can only love us. So anything that's happening, I just read this in the today's Chitas, where like even these curses, even these terrible things, it says everything I did it to sustain you. I did it to keep you. In other words, other nations, like what's the opposite of love? Love is caring for someone. What's the opposite of caring? Not caring. So okay, you had your time in the sun. England, all these nations, gone. There's just certainly the ancient ones, Rome, there just doesn't exist anymore. Empire is gone. So that's like, okay, I gave you your bone and now you can go, feed yourself. But when you care for someone, you always are with them. You want them to succeed spiritually, physically. And so
It's a bit of a violent relationship.
All relationships are. If a relationship doesn't have some violence in it, it's not a healthy relationship. Metaphorical. Yeah. No, I want to say something. That does not. One second. That does not. God forbid. That does not mean physical. No, by all means, that is not physical. What that means is if a relationship doesn't have some expectations to it, right? Then it's not a relationship. Like two people that are going, on a roller coaster together and they happen to meet at the beginning of the ride and the end of the ride, that's not a relationship. But a relationship, let's say between a father and a son, there's an expectation both ways. Between a husband and wife, there's an expectation both ways. Rambam says an interesting thing. People say, marriage is all this whole thing of 100 and 100. He says it's not 100 and 100. It's give and take. The Rebbe says 50-50. Both people have to show up to the party. Relationships are mutual things. Both people have to show up. And so there are things that challenge us in relationships. And often, yes, I did screw up. The Rebbe says you have to take responsibility for your behavior. And so, I'm in a relationship. And many times my wife will say something, and many times it's true. Okay, so what does it impact me? How does it impact me? Ideally, it doesn't take me down. It makes me reflect on my behavior and say, okay, well, I need to improve. Anytime the behavior, the criticism is just destructive, right? There's no love. There's only criticism. I remember, what's that video, To Slay the Dragon, that video, How to Train Your Dragon? So that little kid, I forgot the name of the kid. So he's like this intellectual kid, and they're all like these kind of cavemen dealing with like killing dragons. He's like taming them. And this one guy says, you got to change. You're not like us. He says, what do I have to change? And he goes like that. He says, but you just pointed to all of me, right? So a relationship that has sweetness can also have some sourness. The relationship that's all sweet or all sour, it's not actually a relationship. Right?
But the relationship between the Jewish people and Hashem got pretty violently, physically violent also. So
the relationship between the Jewish people and Hashem, first of all, we're here. He gave us a Torah. He gives us tzaddikim. Now, it's true, there have been very difficult times. So I'm not disagreeing, but ultimately, it's leading to something positive. It's leading to something good. In other words, the essence of the relationship, the essence of the fact that we're bonded together infinitely, because that's really a relationship. It's the connection of two people in an infinite way. We are connected. There's nothing that's going to break. The fact that we are all Jews is an infinite thing. The fact that God chose us is an infinite thing, right? There has to be, and even the choice that we have in ourselves, the fact that I am me is an infinite thing. I will always be me. And no one could ever, and including myself, take that away from me. I am me. and I'm a special me. I'm the me that nobody else is, and you're the me that nobody else is. That's special. And hopefully the marriage bond is also, it's this unique, infinite, these two people are husband and wife forever, And so these are kind of or parent-child. These are infinite bonds because they go beyond the outer structure. But then our task in the world is really to make these relationships work. And that's very, very difficult. The Rebbe says that the Satan puts most of his efforts into breaking up marriages. And the guy's damn successful, if I may say. So the point is, we have to realize that life is about relationships. And relationships are they take a lot of work. And I remember going, before my first marriage, I was asking people for advice, and my non-Jewish barber in Kansas City, I asked him for marriage advice. He says, nothing good comes easy. And we grow up in a generation where a lot of things came easy. So we have to understand, no, if it's going to work and it's really good, it's going to be with a lot of effort. And really, that's the key. The people that put in a lot of effort into their marriages, effort into their relationships, those are the things that work. And the people that don't, they don't. It's simple. It's like whatever you're going to put in is what you're going to get out. So I hope I hope everything I've said has been positive. I only came here to try to be positive and do good. L'chaim v'levracha. Amen.
Listen nice. Der Rebbe du, der Geber zijn du, jeder du. Okay. Lass me verbringen. Verbringen mit der Geber, verbringen mit der Rebbe. Avade in Avade is der Eibischte du. Verbringen mit der Geber, verbringen mit der Rebbe. Avade in Avade is der Eibischte du. Avade. Yisro ene wei oi reiso, bekit sho berichi chadi. Yisro ene wei oi reiso, bekit sho berichi. Yisro ene wei oi reiso, bekit sho berichi chadi. Yisro ene wei oi reiso, bekit sho berichi. Fabrik, oi jedelig fabrik, fabrik.